So Khanna, who obviously is a congressman from California, give him credit. He's been on Status Coup. He does go on independent media shows. So he is willing to take tough questions. No other squad member I know will go on independent media. But Khanna did an interview with Puck News and basically preemptively said that nobody could beat Biden in a primary. The same Biden that a recent poll, 71% do not want Biden to run for re-election. 7 in 10 Americans say they do not want Biden to run for re-election, according to a new poll, a Harvard Caps Harris poll, compared to 29% who say he would run. He should run. Now, to be fair, a lot of times these polls are skewed towards older people, particularly in the Democratic primaries, which the cable news networks then run with. If Bernie wasn't doing good in a poll, they would run with it like first thing in the morning and all day. Oh, Biden's to the top of the poll. Pete's to the top of the poll. Warren's to the top of the poll. They didn't really explain that a lot of the demographics in the poll mostly were skewed to people over 40. With that said, even if this poll is kind of a snapshot, let's say it's closer to 5 out of 10 don't want Biden to run. That's still a shit ton of people that don't want the current president to run for re-election. I don't know, take off your blue hat or your red hat, take off your progressive, take off your conservative, neoliberal, whatever you are. Just objectively speaking, if polls are showing 7 out of 10 don't want Biden to run for re-election, other polls are showing his approval rating at somewhere around 30 to 34%. Polls are showing ages 18 to 29, young people, are in the 20s. Their support of him are down to the 20s. Other polls are showing black voters, the historic backbone of the Democratic Party, black voters' support has dipped under 50% for Biden in some polls. I would safely say he could be beat in a primary, or at least somebody could run a competitive primary against him. I think Ted Kennedy, for example. Think Ted Kennedy versus Carter. But apparently our progressives in Congress don't have a backbone or don't understand politics or don't understand how power works. So let's take a look at this. Part of the interview, he talks about his ideas for inflation. Biden's approval numbers are pretty low right now. How do you think he could turn his presidency around? Khanna answered, every day he has to be talking about the economy. The economy. He needs to be talking about prices and what he's doing to lower prices. He needs to talk about what he's going to do to put money in the pockets of Americans who are struggling. He needs to go much more aggressively against big oil and their price gouging. And he needs to mobilize the government in ways on baby formula. I mean, actually start buying the baby formula from Europe. Tell the FDA, that's if it's safe enough for European babies, it's safe enough for American babies. Start funding mass production of critical supplies. Give an Oval Office address on the semiconductor shortage, asking why we're not passing this bill in Congress. I think we need to spend 80% of our time, 90% of our time talking about the domestic economy and what we're doing. I respect his foreign policy on Russia and his leadership, but I think that the key is to be talking about the economy. No. Congressman Khanna, he doesn't need to be talking about the economy. He needs to be doing something about the economy. Do you understand the difference between talking and messaging and doing? I don't know. Last time I checked, right at the beginning of Biden's presidency, the one promise he made, other than restore the soul of America, which was obviously bullshit, was $15 minimum wage. He proactively moonwalked away from that, citing the parliamentarian won't allow it. If you want to do the boring work of actually reading up on the parliamentarian is not an elected official, and his or her opinion is not binding. It's an advisory position. So you want to know something that President Biden could do right now to help people? He could go back to the drawing board and say, we're going to pass a $15 minimum wage before the midterms. We are not listening to the Senate parliamentarian, which presidents have pushed aside the Senate parliamentarian. Trump did it several times. And we're going to pass the $15 minimum wage. We're going to do it through reconciliation, where you only need 50 Democrats. Every Democrat is going to vote for this bill. And if they don't vote for this bill, they're going to be hearing from me and the American people. And first thing I'm doing right now is I'm going to West Virginia and I'm holding a rally in West Virginia. And then I'm going to Arizona and I'm holding a rally in Arizona. I don't know if it's going to be a coherent rally, but I'm holding a rally in West Virginia, and Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema can explain to the American people why they will not lift the minimum wage to $15 minimum wage when right now people are living in starvation wages as prices have skyrocketed for gas, food, etc. That's the number one thing he could do right now. Whether it will work or not, you fight. You don't talk about the economy. You actually try to pass things that will help people. And to the people saying not going to happen, well, it's not going to happen if you don't try. It's not going to happen if you don't try. And to be clear, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema have never actually experienced public pressure. Remember when Terry McAuliffe lost in Virginia for governor at the end of in November of last year, and the media started flooding Pramila Jayapal and the progressives, guilting them, blaming them for Terry McAuliffe losing because they didn't vote for the bipartisan infrastructure deal, which clearly had nothing to do with it. Terry McAuliffe was just awful. But the full weight of the Democratic Party came on the squad. The full weight of the media came on the squad. And you want to know something? Pramila Jayapal, Ro Khanna, and the people that had a backbone for a few months and refused to vote for the bipartisan infrastructure deal unless it was connected to the Build Back Better plan, they folded like cheap tents because they experienced pressure from the media and Democratic Party leaders. They should have stood fast. They shouldn't have folded, but they did. When did Manchin and Sinema experience that kind of pressure? No offense to the activists that paddled up to Joe Manchin's yacht, or the activist that almost jumped on Joe Manchin's Lamborghini. Yes, he has a Lamborghini, but they haven't experienced an actual public pressure campaign using the full weight of the president. They have not experienced that. Okay, so that is what Ro Khanna should be proposing, and that's what Bernie and the rest of them should be proposing and demanding and activating the base. We need a $15 minimum wage right now. And by the way, that's at this point the conservative position. The reality is we should be targeting a $25 to $30 minimum wage. But at this point, just make $15 minimum wage happen and go from there. Secondly, Ro Khanna is wrong. We don't need to talk about the economy. President Biden right now could be selling the oil companies. You have till the end of the week to reduce your gas prices by a minimum $2 a gallon. And if you don't do it, we're going to take away your $15 billion in federal subsidies you get every year. He could be doing that right now. He's not going to do it. Why? Because the oil companies and the Wall Street banks that are heavily invested in the fossil fuel companies are funding Biden's campaign, are funding the Democratic congressional campaigns, are funding the Democrat Senate campaigns, are funding the Democrats' governors' campaigns. So he's not going to ruffle the feathers of the donors who are all invested and in bed with the fossil fuckers. But he could be doing that, and Ro Khanna could be telling him to do that. JFK did this in 1962 before the CIA got him. The steel companies were working, U.S. Steel and a couple other steel companies were working to price fix steel. They raised the price of steel by $6 a ton. What did JFK do? Held a press conference, publicly tarred and feathered the steel companies, called out the CEO of U.S. Steel by name, and then he said, I'm taking away a major contract for submarines away from these steel companies. I'm going to give them to the steel companies who aren't raising prices. And what happened? The steel companies folded like cheap tents. If Biden would threaten, we're taking away your $15 billion in subsidies, watch these oil companies fold. Because the short-term profit they're making right now is nothing compared to the money they make, the free money they make, the free socialism they get from the federal government. You don't hear that from Ro Khanna. And let's not just pick on Ro Khanna. Bernie ain't saying this shit, and the squad ain't saying this shit. We don't have progressives right now actually challenging Biden and actually demanding that he do very obvious things. And to the people saying, Jordan, it wouldn't work. Well, you know what? My mama once said, you don't know if you don't try. You don't know if you don't try. But I want to move on to something even worse that Ro Khanna said. So after he said that Biden simply just needs to talk about the economy rather than doing the things I just laid out, he says this. Question: there's been a steady stream of stories in which leaders in the Democratic Party second-guess Biden and question whether he should run for re-election. The White House has forcefully pushed back by saying that he is indeed running, but the age issue keeps lurking. Do you think this is a relevant question? Ro Khanna: I'm supporting the president. Oh, God. You know what? Wait a minute. I should have teed this up better. Colin, can you play the clip? This was Biden in Cleveland, Ohio today. Can you play this clip, Biden in Cleveland, Ohio, talking about the economy and pretending to be a union guy? Let's play the clip of Biden in Cleveland, Ohio.
And thank you also for the incredible Democratic members of Congress here. Marcy Kaptur, God love you, Marcy. You are the best. She does it all, unions and foreign policy. And foreign. You think I'm joking? I'm not joking. She really knows more about foreign policy. She's forgotten more than most members of Congress know. And Chantel Brown, just remember me when you're president, okay? All right? Congratulations.
Let's play that one more time for those in the back.
And Chantel Brown, just remember me when you're president, okay? All right? Congratulations.
Oh, to be a fly in the wall in Nina Turner's home right now. Number one, Marcy Kaptur, one of the most forgotten members of Congress. This man doesn't know what he's saying. Again, I've never jumped on to the medical train here. I'm not a doctor. These are not gaffes. And by the way, I was saying this in 2020 during the primary. These are not gaffes. This is somebody who clearly is not mentally sharp. You could say worse, but I'm not a doctor to diagnose it. The most forgotten member of Congress? Then Chantel Brown, don't forget me when you're president. This corrupt ghoul who beat Nina Turner, who hasn't done a goddamn thing for people in Cleveland, who's basically just as corrupt as the rest of the Democratic Party. And Ro Khanna, I support the president. Hands up. I support the president. You support this? But Ro Khanna says to this wasn't the first gaffe. I support the president. Let's continue reading. I believe everyone should try to strengthen the president because I fully expect him to run. It does us no good, in my view, to speculate on alternatives when he clearly said that he's running. And I think I fully expect Donald Trump to be the nominee on the Republican side. I know there's a poll here and there that shows DeSantis is up, but Trump is stronger today in the Republican Party in the House than when I got elected in 2016. And when he was elected, I think he would be fully prepared for a rematch. Do you think Biden is the only person who could beat Trump? Oh, boy. I think he's the incumbent president who has beaten Trump, so I think he's entitled to make that judgment. He won in a very contested primary field. I didn't support him. I was proud to support Bernie Sanders. Biden ran a tough campaign against Trump, so you know he's earned the right to run for re-election. What do you think of the second guessing? I think it's coming because of the public polling, because of the anxiety. I think it's important to rally around the person with bold ideas. Ronald Reagan's approval was low, and then he recovered for re-election. I don't think we get anything by weakening the president. He's going to win in a primary. I don't think there's anyone out there who could beat Joe Biden in a Democratic primary. I don't know. I wasn't born yet. For those that were there polls showing that 7 out of 10 Americans didn't want Ronald Reagan to run for re-election in 1983? Were there polls that said that? Was Ronald Reagan polling at 30% in some polls? Was Ronald Reagan at this point in his presidency shouting out to the most forgotten Congresswoman, Marcy Kaptur? Ronald Reagan didn't have a depressed Republican base. They loved him. He was giving them tax cuts, the wealthy. What is he talking? What are you talking about, Roe? And again, I appreciate that Roe has come on here. He's gone on other shows. He deserves points for going on. I would love to have him on to explain why he's preemptively supporting President Biden. What has President Biden done? Seriously, Congressman Khanna. What has he done? I know I'm a YouTuber. I know I'm a journalist. I'm not inside the halls of Congress. If there's things I don't know about, please let me know. Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.